All right, guys, so check this out. Have you ever heard of Goldbelly? Okay, so it's this amazing site where you can order the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants all across the country, and they will ship it straight to your door. That's right, these guys will ship you Philly cheesesteaks from Jim's or Pat's in Philly, buffalo wings from the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, and even Kansas City's most legendary barbecue. So if you're looking to host an epic Super Bowl party, go to goldbelly.com and get free shipping and 20% off your first order with promo code GAMEDAY.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Look, the time is here. It's 2026, and everybody talks about having a new year and a new life. But what do most people do? They create a few resolutions, and in the end, they don't really do anything. If you want this to be the best year you've ever had in your life, it's going to take a new tool, a new strategy, a new momentum, and maybe a new community of people to hang out with. So come join me for the Time to Rise Summit. I do it only once a year. It's coming up January 29th through the 31st. There's absolutely no charge for it, but it'll be an experience I promise you will not forget. It'll give you momentum, a plan, and a strategy to make 2026 the best ever. If you're up for that and you're hungry for more, come join me. There's no cost for it whatsoever. Just go to timetorisesummit.com. Timetorisesummit.com. I'll see you there.
What's up, Canuck fans? Welcome to the Nucks Report, which is a presentation of DraftKings Sportsbook, as well as a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts, every team, everywhere. It is Monday, January 26th, and in our first topic, we're going to be talking about Teddy Blueger, and with him being healthy now, he could potentially have some sneaky and underrated trade value, and could be someone that the Canucks could sell off to get some draft capital, with him being, of course, a pending UFA. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Like I mentioned, the 25-26 Vancouver Canucks are well past the point at which players returning from injury could truly make a difference in the outcome of the season. So far, all his positive qualities as an NHL player, nobody is expecting Teddy Blueger to come back into the lineup and change their place in the standings much. But that doesn't mean that Blueger's return isn't a good thing for the Vancouver Canucks. In getting Blueger back into the lineup and finally healthy, the Canucks have brought another pending 2026 UFA trade chip to the table. And this one might have underrated value heading into the 2026 trade deadline, sneaky value even. This has thus far been a season to forget for Blueger. This is a player who has stayed relatively healthy throughout his NHL career to date, and yet he has found it almost impossible to stay on the ice this year. Blueger suffered an undisclosed injury in the preseason that was initially listed as week to week. He missed the first 4 games of the regular season and then returned on October 17th against the Chicago Blackhawks. He played 2 nights after that against the Washington Capitals. He then promptly exited the lineup with another injury, this one to his lower body, and was also listed as week to week. And this one lived up to that title more than the previous one, seeming to suffer a setback or 2 along the way. Blueger remained out of the lineup from October 20th all the way through to this past Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. He played 18 minutes and 24 seconds in his return. Clearly, the Canucks have missed him, but with Blueger's contract up at the end of this season, this is probably not going to be a lengthy return. Blueger is almost certainly going to be traded as a rental to a contending team at some point between now and the trade deadline. And when he does, the return could be higher than what we expect. In fact, as we look at the Canucks' current crop of pending UFAs, now that Kiefer Sherwood has moved to the San Jose Sharks, Blueger might just be the most valuable of the bunch despite only being at 3 games played on the season. Blueger has always been a role player, and his value is all about the role he could play on a playoff team and has before. The Latvian is a bona fide center, and that gives him inherent value. He gives him especially inherent value in his current in this current trade market, which is absolutely barefoot of centers. By our count, there are only about 9 or 10 other pending UFAs centers with anywhere near Blueger's experience, and the majority of those names do not seem likely to be traded. Sure, on any truly contending team, Blueger would top out at a 4C position, but then he's proven himself as one heck of a 4C before. And if he's one of only a handful on the market, teams will be interested in making that upgrade. Blueger's positive traits are numerous. He's of average size at 6 foot and 185 pounds, but tends to play bigger than that. He's a perfect 50% on faceoffs over his career, but has trended a bit above that mark as a Canuck. He's paced for between 25 and 30 points a season throughout his career, even when his minutes have been limited. Whether he's lining up with a Connor Garland or a Daniel Sprong, Blueger keeps his production fairly consistent and always seems to have more to give. Blueger was the Canucks' second leading forward on the penalty kill after Pius Suter in 24-25, and was a big part of the reason why that unit soared to the top of the NHL charts. And in the present day of 25-26, it's hard not to tie some of the Canucks' PK struggles, especially in the early going, to Blueger's absence from the lineup. This might be the singular ability that gives him the most trade deadline value, as few teams are ever truly satisfied with their penalty kill. Of course, Blueger's value as a trade deadline acquisition isn't entirely theoretical because it's happened before. Blueger was traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Vegas Golden Knights at the 2023 trade deadline. The return at that time was a third-round pick, and long-shot prospect Jacob Delabitor. It is true that as the Golden Knights' run to the Stanley Cup progressed that year, Blueger found himself a frequent playoff scratch. In the end, he only played 6 games on that run, scoring a goal and an assist. But as Cup winners, the Golden Knights surely don't regret paying a little extra for quality depth. The question is whether the Canucks could get someone to pay something similar for Blueger today. He's older now, but only 31 and still well within his playing prime, especially if we're only talking about the rest of the season. Here, his injuries this season may actually be a benefit as Blueger returns or re-enters the regular season healthy, rested, and raring to go. His salary won't be much of a barrier either. Blueger's cap hit is $1.8 million, which most teams would be able to accommodate by the trade deadline. If some trimming is required, the Canucks still have 2 retention slots available to use and not much need to use them on anything other than UFAs. One of those slots should probably be used to juice Evander Kane's trade value, but if the other one can help the Canucks get more back for Blueger, then that makes plenty of sense. If there's one difference in approach between Blueger and the rest of the UFAs, it might come in the timing. Fans and media alike were getting antsy for a Sherwood trade before it happened. Now that the attention has turned to the likes of Kane and David Kampf, with many hoping they're on their way too before the Olympics. But with Blueger, it may be best for GM Patrick Allvin and company to wait perhaps until that 2-week period between the Olympics and the 2026 trade deadline. After missing most of the season, Blueger is rebuilding his value with each passing game. And unlike most Canucks, he will not be idle in February, as Blueger will be representing Team Latvia in Italy. Wait for him to get a cumulative dozen or so games under his belt between the Canucks and the Olympics, and Blueger will look like a far more certain quantity. We've previously speculated that under the right circumstances, Kane could return a better pick than the Canucks paid for him, as in a 3rd instead of a 4th. That's probably the same range we can expect for Blueger. For all the offensive power Kane has over him, Blueger plays a more versatile role, is cheaper, and comes with a very positive reputation as a dressing room presence. As it stands, it's a bit neck and neck between Kane and Blueger as to who will get the larger return, but if the Canucks can get just a little bit more back for Blueger than the Penguins did a few seasons ago, then it'll probably be Blueger who comes out ahead, and the Canucks who will at least be 1 draft pick richer. So in conclusion, the Canucks are most likely going to try and sell Blueger at the deadline. As we mentioned, his salary isn't going to be an issue, nor would they have to retain on his salary. I mean, they still could, as was mentioned in this article, but they don't have to. Unlike, Evander Kane, where it's likely they're going to have to, because teams are not going to eat up all of Evander Kane's $5.1 million in cap space. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Blueger is the last of the pending UFAs to be shipped off, and a trade involving Blueger is likely to be a 1-for-1 draft pick type of trade. So it won't be like a prospect involved. It'll just be Blueger for a draft pick. Hopefully, maybe a third-round pick, maybe a second if we're kind of stretching it a little bit. But that's just wishful thinking, at least on my part anyway. Let's dive into our second topic, and we're going to shift away from the trade speculation. And we are actually going to talk about the 2026 draft. So, and as well, and speaking of the draft, the Canucks find themselves in a bit of a dilemma. They would face a dilemma if they in fact miss out on both the first and second overall pick. Remember, if the Canucks do finish last in the league and don't win the lottery, they are at least guaranteed a top 3 pick. So if they do pick third overall, it's not going to be an easy decision on who they pick, especially if both McKenna and Stenberg are off the table, and they very likely will be taken 1 and 2 respectively. Friend of the podcast and Canucks Army's resident prospect guru, Dave Hall, broke all of this down for us, so let's go ahead and check it out. We're just a few short weeks away from the February Olympic break, with roughly 30 games remaining on the NHL schedule. The runway to cover ground is shrinking by the day, and sitting dead last with a healthy cushion in the NHL standings, there's a very real chance that Vancouver Canucks will arrive in Buffalo this June, holding a premium draft selection. The center question in the first round of the 2026 NHL draft and the decision facing the Vancouver Canucks. According to Money Puck, the Canucks currently carry a 20.5% chance of winning the first overall pick. Of course, lottery math only tells part of the story. History and a fan base that is all too familiar with it suggests that sliding down the board is an unfortunate but very real possibility. And like I just mentioned, they can move down past third if they finish in last. The good news is that as long as the Canucks stay within the range they are in today, they are poised to pick in the top 3 in a draft with comfortable consensus. So operating under the assumption that Vancouver selects somewhere inside the top 3, what are the realistic scenarios at play? The good news is that there is a clean, uncomplicated version of the Canucks' 2026 NHL draft plan. If they select inside the top 2, the organization doesn't overthink it. Although it may not address a glaring organizational need down the middle, Vancouver takes one of the 2 elite forwards who have separated themselves at the top of their class, Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg, and move forward with a player capable of reshaping the forward group's trajectory overnight. The complexity begins if they don't. Should the Canucks slide to third overall, the draft quickly shifts from a straightforward selection to a true decision-making exercise. With a cluster of comparable talent available, Vancouver would be forced to weigh positional value, organizational need, and asset management, all within a draft class that lacks a clear-cut answer at center. Let's take a look at pick number 3, where the draft gets murky. If Vancouver finds itself selecting third, the draft board sings a much different tune. From a pure best player available perspective, the next name in line is likely defenseman Keaton Vierhoff, a right-shot defender with a safe, projectable profile, and top-pairing upside. For many teams, that would be an easy call. For the Canucks, it's not so simple. With a growing pipeline of young defensemen already in place, the question becomes whether using such a premium pick on another blue liner best serves the organization's long-term needs. For some, the answer is unequivocally yes. That uncertainty naturally redirects attention back to the center, which remains a position Vancouver still lacks depth in and is in desperate need of accumulating through the draft. The problem, this isn't a draft with an obvious answer. Instead, it's a center class defined by questions, not certainty. In a perfect world, the 2026 draft features a franchise-altering top center a la Macklin Celebrini circa 2024. Simple, right? Unfortunately, this center group does not feature a consensus top pivot. Instead, it offers a collection of players with different strengths, ceilings, and levels of projection, each appealing in its own way and carrying varying degrees of risk. Let's take a look at the shifting dynamic. Tynan Lawrence versus Caleb Malhotra. Earlier in the season, Tynan Lawrence was widely viewed as the safest bet among centers and a near log for top 5 discussion. However, as will happen throughout any draft season, that discussion has drastically changed over the last few weeks. His draft eligible season has been unique, one full of twists and turns due to an injury sustained in the preseason. Lawrence missed the majority of the first half and returned to the USHL in late October, where he put up strong numbers as captain of the Muskegon Lumberjacks, 17 points in 13 games. Over the holidays, he decided to pivot mid-season and commit to Boston University, effective immediately. With just 1 goal through 6 games, his transition to the NCAA has been a key evaluation point. Facing older, stronger competition has tested his processing speed and ability to assert himself. While the foundation remains solid, questions linger about how much offensive separation he can ultimately create. When playing to his strengths, Lawrence's game is built on pace, competitiveness, and structure. He pressures pucks, stays involved away from the puck, and plays a style that translates cleanly to the professional level as a foundational two-way pivot. Caleb Malhotra, meanwhile, has steadily pushed himself into the conversation at 6'2", with room to add strength, 182 pounds. He already carries an NHL frame, and his early OHL production, which has him third among all skaters with 59 points in 43 games, has backed up the projection. The puck follows him, and he has shown an ability to create offense without sacrificing structure. And then, as you can see from this tweet here, Caleb Malhotra is a massive riser. I love his trajectory, going from the BCHL to a key player on the top team in the OHL. Very detailed player with good size and soft hands, excels in front of the net and at feeding passes in front. He's pushing hard for a top 10 spot. The contrast between the two is subtle but important. Lawrence offers tempo and competitiveness. Malhotra brings a bit more size, poise, and tangible offensive results. Depending on what Vancouver prioritizes, either could be in play, but neither represents a slam dunk selection at third overall. Let's take a look at the momentum play, Viggo Bjork. Few players in this class have generated more upward momentum than Viggo Bjork. Thanks to a strong gold medal performance at this year's World Juniors, his draft stock has shot up through the roof recently, and rightfully so. His calling card is intelligence. Bjork processes the game quickly, anticipates pressure, and consistently finds solution before lanes close. Whether deployed at center or on the wing, he brings a playmaker's mindset and a strong sense of timing in all 3 zones. And not to mention, Viggo Bjork is the brother of Wilson Bjork, whom the Canucks drafted last year in the draft. So imagine if the Canucks got Viggo Bjork and had the 2 Bjork brothers on the same team. That would be something else. Bjork earns his coach's trust through detail, pace, decision-making, and an ability to support play away from the puck, all traits that allow his skills to shine in meaningful situations. At just 17, he's already enjoying reps as a top-line center at the SHL level. He plays on both special team units, takes faceoffs, and plays in all situations for Djurgårdens. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Simply put, he just feels like an NHL player. The lingering questions revolve around long-term position. His size, 5'10", 172 pounds, means he'll always need to win with angles, anticipation, and puck protection rather than brute force. If he continues to do that effectively, his upside as a top 6 NHL forward is very real, regardless of whether he ultimately settles at center. All 3 players, Lawrence, Malhotra, and Bjork, are projected to go within the top 10 or close to that benchmark. But what about the players available in the next phase of the first round? Those in the 15 to 25 range for trading to accumulate more assets. Let's take a look at the safe floor. Oliver Suvanto. If there's a stabilizing option among this group, it's Oliver Suvanto. Already playing in Finland's Liga, Suvanto has gained experience against men and excels in the lower tiers. That background is evident in his composure, positioning, and defensive awareness. At 6'3" and over 200 pounds, he brings a frame that allows him to protect pucks and manage space effectively. He's willing to drive to the net and play in the dirty areas, and while his offensive output may not be eye-catching at this stage, his habits project cleanly to the NHL level. Suvanto may not become a dynamic offensive driver, but his floor as a dependable, reliable NHL center is among the strongest in the class, particularly in the 10 to 15 range. No, you may not jump up to take him with a top 10 pick, but if the scenario plays out where the Canucks hold a mid-round pick, he's as solid a bet as you can make in this draft. Let me just bring up the next one here. Give me one sec. I ran out of space. Here, I'll just quickly add the last two. The projection bets, I believe that's Ilya Morozov versus Igor Shilov. Ilya Morozov may be the most intriguing long-term play among these centers. As one of the youngest players in NCAA hockey, he's already holding his own against older competition and has produced 14 points in 24 games, though admittedly his production has tapered off quite substantially in the second half. Beyond the numbers, his game is built on awareness, positioning, and a calm approach through the middle of the ice. Morozov combines a pro-sized 6'3", 205-pound frame with responsible habits, making him effective in all three zones. The next step will be asserting himself offensively with greater consistency and pushing the game at a higher pace. If that progression arrives, his stock could rise quickly. At his best, Morozov projects as a two-way NHL center, capable of contributing in all situations and should be available somewhere in the mushy middle of the first round, if not a little later. Over in the QMJHL, Igor Shilov is one of the more intriguing offensive center options in the 2026 draft class, largely because he sits at the intersection of size, skill, and projection. A Russian-born center playing major junior in Victoriaville, Shilov is sitting top 10 in points with 53 in 40 games and has shown the upside to place him into the first-round conversation. The tools are evident, but the polish is still coming. At his best, Shilov shows a blend of offensive instincts that are difficult to ignore. He has the hands to create in tight, the vision to distribute effectively, and enough shooting ability to blow past netminders. Physically, he already carries a relatively pro-ready frame, 6'1", 181 pounds, which gives him a solid foundation. Where his game still needs growth is in leveraging that size and playing on both sides of the puck. Too often, puck battles fall through the cracks rather than wins, and separation doesn't always come as cleanly as it should, given his build. If Shilov learns to consistently win 50-50 battles, Shilov profiles as a potential middle six NHL center with scoring upside. He's not a finished product, but he's the type of bet teams consider once the top tier is off the board. Bring up the last slide here. Let's take a look at the bigger question. Reach, rebalance, or reallocate? If the Canucks pick third, the decision isn't simply which center to take. Do they select the next best player available and trust development to sort out positional balance? Do they reach for a center in a class without a clear top option? Or do they explore a trade down scenario, leveraging that pick to accumulate additional first round capital and attack the draft more broadly? Given how evenly the center talent spreads across the middle of the first round, trading down could allow Vancouver to secure one of these pivots while also adding another high-end prospect, spreading risk rather than concentrating it. Don't forget, there's still a second first-round pick and a high second-round pick that could easily come into play. Of course, we will continue our draft coverage here at Canucks Army and highlight many more options as the season progresses. And of course, if you guys haven't seen it, Dave and I did a draft video a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about McKenna, Stenberg, and all that. We're actually going to do another video, and he actually suggested this closer towards the draft, so I'm obviously very much looking forward to doing that with him and bringing that to you guys as well. Now, before we go over our quick little summarized recap of the Canucks versus Penguins game, which I'll admit I was not able to watch, unfortunately. I'd like to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, or actually my main and primary sponsor, none other than DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Never experienced the jaw-dropping moments that make...
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it. Magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
All right, guys, so check this out. Have you ever heard of Goldbelly? Okay, so it's this amazing site where you can order the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants all across the country, and they will ship it straight to your door. That's right, these guys will ship you Philly cheesesteaks from Jim's or Pat's in Philly, buffalo wings from the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, and even Kansas City's most legendary barbecue. So if you're looking to host an epic Super Bowl party, go to GoBelly.com and get free shipping and 20% off your first order with promo code GAMEDAY.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Look, the time is here. It's 2026, and everybody talks about having a new year and a new life. But what do most people do? They create a few resolutions, and in the end, they don't really do anything. If you want this to be the best year you've ever had in your life, it's going to take a new tool, a new strategy, a new momentum, and maybe a new community of people to hang out with. So come join me for the Time to Rise Summit. I do it only once a year. It's coming up January 29th through the 31st. There's absolutely no charge for it, but it'll be an experience I promise you will not forget. It'll give you momentum, a plan, and a strategy to make 2026 the best ever. If you're up for that and you're hungry for more, come join me. There's no cost for it whatsoever. Just go to timetorisesummit.com. Timetorisesummit.com. I'll see you there.
Hockey? Well, you can experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-9777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through per wager may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. I'd like to thank my secondary sponsor, none other than Gassy Jack Art, maker of this amazing artwork you see here right in front of you, and you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. All right, let me bring up my recap here. Just give me 1 second here. Once again, I didn't have the space to add it up or to have it on here. StreamYard really needs to add more space for stuff like this. Then I wouldn't have to do this, but it's okay. Let me just add them all, and then we'll dive right into it. Obviously, normally I don't do this on the Nucks Report. Usually I do a post-game show, but unfortunately I was not able to do a post-game show for this particular game. And I'll dive into the reason why in just a few minutes here. Where is it? There we go. Also wish StreamYard had a thing where you could like pull each one. If there's like multiple, you can pull like each one up right away. You know how like the whole like Control C, Control V type of thing. But maybe in the future, StreamYard will do that. I tell you what, I'll pull up one more, and then we'll get right into it. Apologies for the wait, guys. All right, here we go. So let's take a look. All right, let's dive into it. As I mentioned, I'll admit I didn't actually watch the game at all. Also, apologies on the lack of post-game shows as of late. I've been working a lot of night shifts at work, so it hasn't allowed me to both watch the games and also do a post-game. I also don't want to half-ass a post-game show for you guys. If I missed either a majority of the game or half the game, I want to make sure I give you guys 100% and my in-depth analysis on it. I just wanted to let you guys know the reason for the lack of post-game shows. And it's not because the team has been losing or that I have no desire to do them. I just haven't been able to because of my regular day-to-day job and the hours that I'm working. So just so you guys know the reasons behind the lack of post-game shows here in 2026. But enough about me. Let's get into this game. Thankfully, our friend David Quads over at Canucks Army was able to summarize the game for us in his instant reaction. And this actually really helps out a lot. So let's take a look at the first period. The game got started with a bang as the Penguins applied some early pressure on the Canucks. Kevin Lankinen had to be sharp right away as Evgeny Malkin found himself on the doorstep with a grade A scoring chance after a cross-crease pass. There was a scary moment later in the first as Zeev William took a shot off the face. He went down to the ice and headed to the Canucks locker room shortly after. In all the chaos, it was hard to notice that the puck had trickled over the Canucks' goal line, though it did. The Canucks challenged that play was offside and won that challenge. Still scoreless 8 minutes into the game. Jake DeBrusk had a great chance to score right in front of Stuart Skinner, but the Penguins netminder flashed his left pad out to make the save. DeBrusk had another great chance to score after Evander Kane worked to win the puck along the wall, and Elias Pettersson snapped a pass to the front of the net. Unfortunately, Skinner was there to make the save once again. Connor Garland looked to have opened the scoring with 55 seconds left in the first, but it was determined that Teddy Blueger interfered with Stuart Skinner. No goals after 20 minutes of play. Some takeaways from the first. Loud cheer from the Rogers Arena faithful for the welcome back Artur Silovs message. Obviously, Artur Silovs got his championship ring, as did the rest of the Abbotsford Canucks this past Thursday. So that is obviously great to see. Shout out to Liam Ogren, who had the puck stolen from him by Sidney Crosby, but immediately stole the puck back from Crosby. It's actually amazing that Sidney Crosby is still doing this at his age. Good to see, going with the second period, good to see Zeev William back out for the start of the second, sporting a fishbowl visor. Anthony Mantha was called for elbowing less than 2 minutes into the second, giving the Canucks the game's first power play. While the first unit didn't do much, the second unit looked very dangerous and nearly scored after Zeev William dished a cross-crease feed to Filipino, whose chance was denied by Skinner. Not a bad power play by any means. The Penguins opened the scoring moments later after Zeev William pinched, which led to an odd man rush the other way, and Jake DeBrusk couldn't get back in time to break up the cross-ice feed. Oh. Hang on. Oh, crud. Looks like I put second period twice. So give me one quick sec. Technology. All right, there we go. 1-0 Penguins. Ben Kindle managed to accomplish every kid's dream when he scored a goal in his hometown debut. The Coquitlam-born forward fought with Elias Junior Pettersson, DPD, for position at the front of the net, and managed to deflect a hard pass from Ryan Shea past Kevin Lankinen to put the Penguins up 2. And then this is confusing. It got loud in Rogers Arena again as Ben Kindle blasted home a one-timer off the rush 5-hole on Kevin Langton to put Pittsburgh up by 3. Some takeaways from the second. Ben Kindle is a great reminder of why it's so important for this team to load up on and use draft picks. I think I like Z Bouillon on TP1 over Tom Wielander. I have to agree with Quads on that. Teddy Blueger is sure making a lot happen since returning. If I'm an NHL GM, I'm giving up at least a second-round pick for Blueger at the deadline personally. So we were talking about Blueger earlier in the show. Quad seems to think he could go at least for a second-round pick. Hey, I would take that any day. Hey, how did the Penguins get Ben Kindle? Oh no. That was a little funny. Anyway, let me bring up the next one. All right, let's take a look at the third period. Canucks got on the board in the third. DPD stepped up and made a great play to Elias Pettersson, who made an even greater play to Evander Kane, who dropped his shoulder down and went to the net. Jake DeBrusk was ready to strike on the rebound chance, getting the puck past Stuart Skinner for the first time on the night to make it 3-1. Canucks made things interesting when Filip Hronek blasted a one-timer that appeared to deflect off of Teddy Blueger and find the back of the net. It was 3-2 with 6 minutes to go in the third period. With just under 2 minutes left, the Canucks pulled Kevin Langton. They did not score, and that was the end of the game. The Canucks mounted the comeback, but it fell short. Final score would be 3-2 for Pittsburgh. And I think Brian Rust might be getting a call from player safety for that late hit on Brock Besser. We are going to talk about Brock Besser in just a second. So the Canucks lose again, a close game to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But hey, at least they made a game of it, just like they have the last couple games, actually, despite the losses. But let's go ahead and dive right into the whole Brock Besser, Brian Rust thing. As you know, a lot of Canuck fans are up in arms about it. And I actually saw even this morning, Rick Dollywall tweeted that the Department of Player Safety is in fact looking at it. And Brian Rust is very likely going to be on the receiving end of a suspension. Vancouver Canucks forward Brock Besser went down after a hit to the head late in the third period against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Canucks trailed the Penguins 3-2 late and were looking for the equalizing goal when Penguins forward Brian Rust came flying into the scrum in front of the Penguins net in the dying seconds of the third and seemingly got his shoulder up on Besser, who was helped off the ice by teammates. No penalty was called on the play as time expired. They actually did end up calling a penalty on Brian Rust at the end of the game for an illegal check to the head. So he did get penalized for that. But let's take a look at what some of Besser's teammates and Adam Foote said about the hit, or about the what people are saying was a dirty play. And having seen the replay, I 100% believe this was a dirty play, and I really do hope Brian Rust gets a lengthy suspension for this. Canucks head coach Adam Foote was asked about the hit postgame and called it a headshot. It was a headshot. It was shoulder in his head. I'm sure the league will look at it because it was, even though he may have been desperate to get Best down because it was a scrum at the net, I still think it was something that you got to be in control of your body. I thought it was a little bit of a vicious hit to the head. Teammate Jake DeBrusk said that he and his teammates didn't see the hit in the moment. Some of them probably didn't. I do know one person who did see the hit. That was Elias Pettersson, and he did absolutely nothing. But after getting a look at it post-game, I think it's a pretty dirty play, to be honest with you. The reaction from Canuck fans on social media has had a similar sentiment, with many fans immediately following the play calling it a dirty play. At this time, Foote said he does not have an update on Boeser's condition, and as of actually this morning, we still don't have an update on Brock Boeser. Boeser missed time last season after taking a similar hit to the head from Tanner Jeannot against the LA Kings on November 7th, 2024, and we all remember that one, which led to a 3-game suspension for Jeannot. Boeser would go on to miss 7 games following that play last season. The Canucks, who have been riddled with injuries this season, could be facing yet another big loss to their lineup if Boeser indeed misses time. Even actually Teddy Blueger actually said that he thought it was a dirty play as well. And actually, if you actually watch the replay, when Rust connects with Boeser's head, he actually falls to the ice afterwards because of the momentum he had driving towards Boeser. So I absolutely 100% feel as though this is a dirty play. It should be a suspension. I'm thinking minimum at least 5 games. Yes, I wouldn't exactly say Brian Rust is a quote-unquote dirty player, but this was absolutely dirty, 100% intentional. I mean, and he was like aiming for Boeser's head. So 100% suspension. You know, we'll find out later today what it was. And yeah, so there you go. This has been the Nucks Report. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know, what do you think the suspension will be? 3 games, 5 games, 7 games? I highly doubt it, but let me know what you guys think Brian Rust should receive as punishment for that dirty headshot on Boeser, and hopefully Boeser is not out of commission for long. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Shout out and thank you to my sponsors once again, DraftKings and Gassy Jack Art. And if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. Check out our official merchandise store. Currently, we are selling our 1-year anniversary collection. We are actually going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary technically on February 14th, so on Valentine's Day. But it has a completely redesigned logo in both in blue and green, as well as our skate version of the logo. And even I got to say, those black hoodies with the skate logo look absolutely fire, as do the white ones. So go ahead and check them out, thelinechangepodcast.threadless.com. Also, if you want to have more conversations and discussions such as this one, join our official Discord. There's a link to it in the description down below. It's completely free to join, so go ahead and do so. You can find and interact with us on social media. We're everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, even Blue Sky. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. Speaking of platforms, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us on either platform. It is, of course, greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the podcast. Also, something else that really helps, and if there's an episode that you absolutely loved and can't get enough of and want to watch over and over again, go ahead and download your favorite episode. Tell your friends to download their favorite episodes as well. That too also really helps out the podcast. And of course, we are greatly appreciative of that as well. But as I said, that's going to do it for this week's Nucks Report. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. And as always, go Canucks, go.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect Valentine's gift. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So, If you're looking for a Valentine's Day gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.